July 1643. 2 days ago there was a big battle at Adwalton Moor where the Royalists beat the Royalists under the Earl of Newcastle, beat the Parliamentarian army commanded by Ferdinando Lord Fairfax and his son Sir Thomas Fairfax. Subsequent to that, Newcastle has advanced on Bradford and has set up his headquarters at Bolling Hall. This actually happened. Bolling Hall at the time was owned by Richard Tempers, who was one of Newcastle's cavalry officers. He later commanded a regiment. We don't know if he had a regiment at this time or not. Perhaps cavalry, or was horses. So what we have here is a garrison that he has left behind to look after his headquarters. It's a company, small company, from his own regiment. Anybody knows anything about the Civil War? And it's the Whitecoats, for obvious reasons, who did a famous last stand at Marston Moor. Any regiment, it's a standard regiment from the time, made up of pikemen, people with long sticks, musketeers, people with guns. We'll go through what the individual arms are in a moment. Drums, which is the voice of command, and the colours. Each company is different in this period. Like the British Army now, where it has one colour. It only had, in the Civil War, they had one for every company. And you'll notice they're a lot bigger than the ones that the Guards use on trooping of the colour. It's 6'6" square, silk, red silk. Red being standing for the justice. All the colours had symbols. So white, strangely, purity, red stands for justice. Okay, do you want to start to introduce the soldiers? So, first of all, we'll introduce you to pike. They like to think of themselves as the elite of the regiments. They were paid 2 whole pence a day more than the 6 pence that musketeers were paid. That's old money. So 6 pence is 2.5p, so these probably get 3p a day. Pike is 14 foot. These are 14 foot steel tip, steel shod pikes. The tip is the only bit of steel. There's strips of metal coming down the side. There to stop nasty, horrible cavalrymen chopping the end off. They're called lanyards. You can tell they're in garrison. There's only one of them wearing armour. So they're in garrison, it's a parade. They haven't always put their armour on because nobody's going to be shooting at them or trying to kill them. There we go. There we go. Back in rest. Just promoted it. Because you have a thing called dignity. People at the front are the most senior soldiers. The guy on the right is the senior one of all of those. The next most senior soldier is the one at the back. In the middle, you trap the people who don't quite know what they're doing. Very important when you're manoeuvring, moving bodies of troops around, you always should come back to the starting positions of rank and file. Otherwise you lose your dignity. Advance pike. Advance pike. The advanced position, that's a formal marching position. You do it for short distances, but you get very tired quickly. Bring your ranks up in order from the fore. So when you do march, shoulder your pike. The demarch, we go to shoulder. This is for slouching down the road. You'll notice though, they open the distance between their ranks. If you look at the bottom of these pikes, you'll see why. If they hadn't gone to open order between ranks, they'd be sticking out here. Far too easy for people to get trip up, fall over on the line. Cover. Cover your ranks to order. Cover your ranks to order. Then there is the serious end of the pipe. Report your pipe. Report your pipe. Now this position is a halfway combat position. Can also be used to salute a dignitary. So those of you in front of the pipe lock, they're saluting you. Charge your pipe. Charge your pipe. Close to your centre. Maybe they actually want to do something else to you. March on. March on. Very close order. One pikeman on his own is absolutely useless. 100 are terrifying. Oh no, I've stood in front of them. You notice, front ranks at charge, rear ranks, second ranks at charge, and rear ranks are still at high ball. If somebody dies, like him, he'd go down, he'd step forward, he'd move forward and go to charge. 60 in an actual period formation.
Recover.
Recover.
Retire in good order.
Retire in good order. Step. 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 Step.
Stand.
Stand.
Charge your butt end 2 foot.
Right. The real reason for pikes and the length of them is they're here to protect musketeers from cavalry. No such thing as bayonet. So
Charge the horse to the fore. Down.
those go at the horse's guts. You would ordinarily have. Right, as I said, bits of metal to stop naughty horsemen cutting the end off. You'd have 2 musketeers knelt here. The cavalry still can't reach over with his sword or his poleaxe and get to the musketeers. If they get this close, the musketeers haven't done their job. The musketeers can fire and take the cavalry out of their saddles.
Recover.
The other thing is, 100 of them, the horses won't charge home. Horses won't run against anything it can't see the other side of. No, you can take them back now.
Retire in good order. Step. 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 Step.
I'll be able to go now. Right, drums and colours step up. So a bit more on these, explaining about them
Right.
and their function.
Step. Stand. Order your pipe.
Forward. Right, drums and colours. Talk about the colour first because he's holding it properly. The colour should only be held in one hand at all times, unless the wind does blow strong. It is blowing a bit strong, yeah. The reason it's so big, it needs to be seen. That's the point you rally at. You reform on your colour. It needs to be visible across the battlefield. It could be 30 yards away. Remember, this could be a company of 120 men, so it's going to be a lot harder if he's just stood there shouting with nothing obvious in his hand. That's what the colour is there for. Let's secure it now. The drums, this is not the period of child drummer voice. The drum is the voice of the command. Imagine, this is a full regiment that have, if we talk to 9 companies in it, 1,000 men or more. So how do you get a command from one end to the other? I've got a very loud voice and I can't shout that far. So you use the drum. The drum beats particular beats that will be passed on. The officers will go, oh, we're going to move. Or they'll advance their pikes now. So the drum is used to give commands. More importantly, the drummer is an educated man. This is why it's not children drummers. They have a lot more responsibility. What's actually happening in the siege, our scenario is Newcastle's not here because he's got some people talking to parliamentarians in Bradford, the opposition, beating the drum a particular beat for a parley. If they didn't shoot him, then we'd have a discussion. The drummers would do make all the arrangements for the parley. So they wouldn't. So they had quite a lot of responsibility. I'll give you an example. Pontefract Castle, the siege. They sent a drum to the castle, they didn't shoot him, they sent a drum out, they made all the arrangements, and the next day they put a tent up in basically what we now call no man's land, and had a meal and a chat and discussed surrender. But it's the drummer that arranged all that. So they are significant people in their own right. They're also, because they're educated, a lot more people could read and write at this time than you might think, but they would often be the ones that people who couldn't write would go to write letters home. Nice little sideline because they get paid for it. Thank you very much. The And now the noisy part of the regiment.
Hold your head. Take your red on. Open your palms.
Right, not as loud as the other one round there. Still loud, wasn't it? It was actually a better volley than they did this morning. We have fired these live. With that charge in, they will go through 4x4 timber at 100 metres. We know because we missed the middle of the target and went through the side of it, which is a timber frame. Either that or they will bury themselves in railway sleepers. Musket is section one of them, matchlock muskets. Now matchlock muskets are very simple. You know fireworks, you know those bits of fuse that give you the light fireworks? That's basically what the match is. A piece of hemp cloth soaked in solvent. The musket itself is loaded from the top end, doesn't have breech load, it's not a modern gun. You can do loading. Just tell you to load. On the battlefield they said make ready, present your fire. If you do it properly, there are over 30-minute moves, drill moves, to firing a gun. I can take you through as many of them as I can remember. And they're going to laugh at me because I fluffed it up this morning. So, first one. Handle your piece. Handle your piece. That's about your piece. We are going to. Okay, I've got to drive it. Okay, just to keep you all happy, handle your piece. Drive your, handle your charge. Right, open your charge. Open your pan. Prime your pan, a little bit of gunpowder into the pan. There's a small hole from that that will go through to the main charge when they've loaded it. Close your pan, blow off loose coals. Cast about your piece. Handle your charge. Charge your piece. Handle your wadding. Wad your piece. Handle your scouring stick. Withdraw and shorten your scouring stick. Grab home your charge. Withdraw your scouring stick. Shorten and put home your scouring stick. They always put the same end of the scouring stick down the channel, because the top end is the one that's around the charge home. After you fire a few shots, that will be foul, that will be filthy. The last thing you want is it getting into the timber at the bottom, because that is also very close to the mechanism that can rot it. Poise your piece. High port. Sorry, trying to get them to know the real commands. We've used high port for years. We've started looking at drill books. It's actually poise your piece. Cock and try your match. That means they're going to check if the match, when it comes down onto the pan, will actually hit the pan. There is an X stamped on half of these, and there's an apocryphal story that X marks the spot. It comes from that. You know. To your right hand about face. Present your piece. Take your ramrods. Open your pans. Prepare to fire. Give fire. Okay, load of a bird shot. Right, okay, as I said, you saw how long that took. Did they let it countdown you? I can't remember. Certainly in the 20s, wasn't it? Right, what we can do on the battlefield is we can simply say, say make ready, give fire. So we're now going to race the three of them. On your own time, make ready, present, give fire. Whilst they're doing that, everybody's got a timer, keep an eye on them. Various things, states from the English language, like possibly X marks the spot, come from this type of gun. When they don't work properly, they have a misfire. Now misfires are okay, you can deal with them. However, there might be a hang fire. Like people say, just hang fire on that for a moment. Meaning, well done. Let's say, yeah, hang fire on that. Hang fire is when you think it's a misfire, but it's not going to go off, but there's a bit of slow coal, but the coals are still glowing, and it goes off up to 5 seconds later. Very carefully though, I nearly took my eye out, got my eyebrow off. I leant over to check, and it went. Not good. Worse than that, not worse than that, there's another one called flash in the pan. You don't know what flash in the pan is, don't we? Something that's all show and no substance. Comes from the gun, the fan goes off, and the main charge doesn't. Half cock, going off half cock. The gun at the end here is what's called a dog lock, and it has 2 positions on the dog. When it gets warm, so when you load it, you bring it to half cock. It's supposed to have a lock on. You can't fire it when it's at half cock. Sometimes they get warm and they go off, they click. Still won't set it off because it's not going fast enough to get a spark. You have to put it all the way back to full cock and fire it. Oh, one last point. There's another type of gun we don't have here. Back to the English language. You know when you're fixing your car and you're using one of those spanner things? Spanner comes from a type of gun called a wheel lock, which actually had a spring and you wound it up. So you span your piece. And the key that was used to span it got the name spanner. There you go. Right, one last bit. They like doing this. I'll let them do it. What I said about cavalry, getting musketeers into safety. By the way, chaps, there's some GGs running down at you. Musketeers go under the front. Cavalry comes riding towards them, and we'll just get rid of it. Empty a few saddles. Hopefully there's a few rival schools wandering around. There you have company of His Excellency, no, not an Excellency, no, he is when he's an Earl. Yeah, the Earl of Newcastle's lifeguard, those whitecoats who made Battle Master Moore several thousand men on the battlefield and only 30 came off. So they stood and died in their rank and file. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, your turn now. Any adults want to play with the pikes? You can come into the arena. Some of the guys will stay behind and do that with you. Any of the children are doing kids' pike drill down on the campsite. Yes? In the cannon area. Okay, over to you.